Tolerance is something that can be managed a couple of different ways. Um, there are methods. So I'm going to be sharing 4 different methods with you right quick. There's the 4 methods that I'm going to be sharing with you. I call them the 3/4 method. I call them climb and dive method. I call it the 30% method and the reset. So basically, I don't disclaim here. I'm not promoting any use. This is all educational. This is all reported from anecdotal use from people I know. So the 3/4 method, what this means is you will make sure. Okay, let's say that you have 7 grams. You pull 7 grams out of the bag every time, and that's what you're aiming for. 7 grams. That's your quote unquote dose. That's what you say. 7 grams. Blah blah blah. So the 3/4 method means 3/4 of the time you will be below that by at least 10% or so. So that is a manageable thing. So basically, you let's say 10 times, 10, let's say 12 times you pull 7 grams out of the bag normally. Well, those 12 times you would, instead of pulling 7 grams out of the bag, you would pull 7 grams out of the bag 4 times, and then do the math. 75 3/4. I don't know why I had a problem with that so far. So basically, let's say 40 times you pull 7 grams out of the bag. So then you would stop doing that. 10 times you would pull the 7 grams out of the bag, and then the other 30 times you would go less than that by about 10 or so percent. This is a manageable process. I know a lot of people that use this type of process, and that is something that you can employ on your own. It involves math, of course, and we actually have something I can show you. I can also help you guys out on the side if you do want something like I'm going to show you in a little while. The climb and dive method is more of a feel it out type of method. Basically, it's a lot of people with pain. It's been reported that they could take a larger dose sometimes, smaller dose other times. I hear that people with autoimmune issues, they have issues, and sometimes they just can't help hurting, so they try to compensate by taking more than they normally take, which then increases their tolerance, which then increases the amount they have to take over time, and that increases how problematic this can be. So what this problem and this solution is, the climb is the problem, the dive is the solution. So what happens is that you're going to climb, you're going to make sure you dive next time. So basically, if someone takes 10 grams of the bag and said, oh my gosh, I'm hurting so bad, my freaking leg is killing me, blah, 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 the next time you're going to dive it down. So if you took 3 grams over than what you were supposed to, you're going to dive at 3 grams. So that's the climb and the dive. So you kind of follow me right here on this one. And then the one that this is my personal favorite. It's the 30% method. So the 30% method is extremely helpful for, like I said, it is my favorite. And what that means is basically, you basically kind of do the 3/4 method, but you add on to that. So the 3/4 method might get a little hairy down the line. You might still run into these tolerance issues. So basically, what it means is when you start feeling that your tolerance is getting to an unmanageable point, you take 3 days, and you basically just, the term hair of the dog? This is a horrible term to relate, but it's more or less you push it, the time. If you're, it's been reported if you're a pain patient, this doesn't cure anything, but like I've said, I've been told by people that they basically, they use it in necessity for their pain. So if they can go a certain point, that's when you go that point. You push it to the limit, and then you this is your 30%. So basically, you do the 3/4, and then when you find out you kind of want to reset, you do a 30% 3-day 30% jobber. So that means basically push it and then just take 30% out of what you would normally out of the bag. This is my absolute go-to, personally, because I have a lot of I try a lot of different samples, so I like to be on top of my sample game. So I want to get the best possible product for my customers, because I make the final call on everything, and I like the fact that I can. It took me about a year to decipher between bad product and bad management. So there's a difference between bad product and bad management. A lot of people don't know what's going on. I'm telling you, there are so many vendors out there that have been blamed for something that they did not do. So I tell people all the time, they write me emails, hey, Joe, I'm having a problem with this. I'm having a problem with, tolerance and this and that. And like I said, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not giving you any advice for any kind of medicinal or medical purposes. This is just reported. So basically people would call me up or they would email me and tell me about these tolerance, or they would tell me about not having an impact anymore. They would frame it as product is bad. Well, there is such a bigger issue at hand here. There's not just the product and we will get into the rotation. There's not just that. There is an issue with you. There's an issue with your hydration. There's an issue with your rest. There's an issue, like we said the other day, with your overall state of mind, your placebo effect that you're already putting yourself into a grand process of positive thinking versus negative thinking. A lot of people will start off at a certain point, and if they go the same distance that somebody else that started off at a lower point, they are going to be at an advantage. That's basically where that is. So, I mean, with the power of thinking, you can prevent a lot more problems with this said tolerance. Like I said, this is just reported. But this is something that you have to kind of play with. This is something that you at home have to understand that you have. You need a journal. You need either your brain is a journal, or you need to figure out what you got going on for yourself. And jot it down on paper. A lot of times people will just fly by the side of the seat of their pants and just try to figure this out. Listen, it's not this. Anybody that's listening to me right now that's using a spoon and using some sort of a scooping method you're not doing, no matter what. If you ever have a tolerance issue, it's nobody's fault, because you can't point any fingers now, because you don't even know how much you've been taking. So this is where it gets a little hairy, because if you don't have a good system, you can't fix the broken pieces, because you don't even have a good system to fix. You don't even have a system. So if there's something that you don't understand, you have to be able to look back at history and say, hey, this is what happened. This is what I didn't like. This is how I need to fix it. If you cannot look back in history, if you have a problem with history and you can't remember history, well, then you need a journal. And if you don't have a journal, then you can't do anything. And you can't blame a vendor. You can't blame anybody but yourself. And this is the problem in today's world of tolerance. It's not just, I did this. It's a thing that we have problems with the most. It's organizing ourselves and our daily habits and figuring out what goals we have. So there's the 3/4 method, the climb and dive method, the 30% method, and there's also the reset. That's a very popular one for people, which is basically just stop and just reset. Just go bananas and just stop it and just hold your breath as long as possible. That is extremely popular, extremely effective as well. That is actually there's an even more easy way to make sure that it works is when you jump back onto the tracks. You're going to be about 75% of what you left at. So when you reset, you make sure that you're 75% of what you left at. Don't go back to where you reset at, because then you're going to be starting this circle over a lot faster than you were slower. This situation is something that we can avoid. We can try to stop it. We can try to prevent it. But in overall terms, sometimes that wall just has to be hit. There's sometimes, just like in working out, when you're working out and you're gaining weight and you're making those gains and you're doing everything that you had to do, sometimes you just stop. It just stops. It happens. Being a human is what's going to stop you from becoming successful. Why? Because we're imperfect. We are imperfect creatures in an imperfect world, and we have imperfect variables around us. And anybody that tries to be perfect, eventually they feel like crap and they fail. So just go into it knowing that failure is possible, and a successful plan takes yourself, and you have to realize that there is nobody else to push you on a plan of success than yourself. So just understand that there's those three. There's more than those four methods. There's a lot of other methods, but this is not just an exact science. This is something where you have to push-pull. This is something where you have to figure out for yourself. This is something that you have to take into your own life and mold it however way you can mold it. So with that said, I do want to show you something that I have right here. It's something that I can actually get this out to you if you're interested in something like that, and I will show you right now. So basically, if you look up, this is a spreadsheet. It's in the link below. I can make different ones as well, but this one that we're on, it says 3 times daily: morning go, evening chill. So if you pull out 6 grams out of the bag, you just put that there, and that actually shows you exactly what you can take, what you can pull out of the bag for that dose. It's something that we can go by. Is it an exact science? No. Is it going to work all the time? No. But it has a purpose. So if you look, this is the 4 times daily. Sorry about that. If you look, you can click the 3 times daily. You put, like, let's say 6.5. So 6.5. Boom. So this right here is going to show you exacts on what you can try to manage yourself. And these spreadsheets are amazing. You can really get down to the nitty-gritty if you're trying to figure it out, like a medical professional would be. Like I said, a disclaimer, I'm not giving you any medical advice. You need to make this decision for yourself. You need to contact a medical doctor if you want to do anything in your life with health changes. But this is something that I personally use. So I wanted to share this with you. Sometimes I personally use this if things are getting out of hand, and I first started using this years ago. That's where I kind of got the idea to show you folks. You can make it different. Well, you can make, there's spreadsheets that you can make for nighttime, basically focusing on nighttime, or focusing on morning, and focusing on whatever you want. If you do want your own personal spreadsheet, go ahead. These right here are for 2, 3, and 4 times daily, and they're for what it is, what it's labeled at: morning go time and an evening chill. So basically morning and evening, and then in the middle is just kind of just going through just maintaining, I guess you would say, and being a comfortable level. Like I said, this is not medical advice. This is personal use. This is personal, and I don't promote the use of this plant at all. I just educational. So basically, and I see some of your chats right here, so we're gonna go back to the chats. Absolutely, you need a scale. You do need a scale, and it is. If you don't have a scale, you have no excuse. I mean, because unless you're really grasping, and I feel bad for you, and you can eventually you can work it out, but $10 on Amazon is not hard. So how often is a reset recommended? There's no set time. Everybody is completely different. There's some people out there. I know a guy that for years he was pulling 2 grams out of the bag every time. 2 grams, 1.5, and it's just like, I know some people that would be just hears that and be like, what? That's crazy. How is that possible? That's awesome for him. Good job. And then these things are all they're all dependent on personal, to us individuals. It all goes back to figuring out what you do for yourself. Remember that when things that I'm talking about, personal experiences, I'm not recommending you do them, but personal experiences, I'm experimenting on myself. Just like I can go and I can experiment on myself, but somebody else can't experiment on me. That's what's happening. It's not, if you're doing anything like this, you need to take caution, because you are experimenting on yourself with an unknown alternative. So, that is real, and I don't want to downplay that enough, because you can get yourself in problems if you don't understand what you're working with. This is a very complex situation. It's a very complex belief